Hey, well, thanks for stopping in to Night Shift Video. My name is James, and tonight I am joined by this guy.
I'm Cody.
And tonight I have a story for us about a haunted Frozen doll.
When you say frozen,
Yep.
do you mean it's out in the street and it's in a block of ice?
I mean, it is Elsa from the movie Frozen.
Oh,
So a modern haunted doll.
little known fact, I've never seen Frozen.
Oh my God, really?
This probably would be less scary for me.
I don't know. It's probably still scary.
Any haunted doll sounds bad. Anyway, I'm very
But
excited.
I would say when we traditionally think of haunted dolls, we obviously the first things that come to mind are like movies. We have The Boy, we have Annabelle, and we have Chucky.
Yeah.
Kind of the three big haunted dolls, I would say. The Boy's not even really that big, but he's getting a sequel, so I guess he's big enough.
Yeah.
Which obviously, if you've seen the movie, The Boy's not haunted, so.
That's a good point. Yeah.
But so like the only real, and even so, Chucky's not even really a haunted doll. Like, so the only true haunted doll, not possessed doll, like haunted doll.
Yeah.
You know,
he's possessed.
He's literally, and he starts to become more human. He has freaking scars and stuff on his face.
Yeah.
Chucky can bleed at one point.
That's
Like,
a good point.
this is like voodoo magic. It's not just haunted. It's a little different.
Yeah.
The only true haunted doll that we really have is Annabelle. And Annabelle, obviously, being based off of a true story from the Warrens of the Conjuring peeps. And so this is a real haunted doll.
Yep.
But what we see in the movies as this, like, what we think of when we think of the traditional creepy haunted doll is, like, usually, like, if it's not porcelain faced, it's, like, really good molded plastic.
That's a good point.
You know what I mean? Like Annabelle is not like a trashy looking doll. She looked like if she was a doll in a store that didn't look possessed, it would be very, very expensive.
So expensive.
And
like the grandma's buying it.
Yes.
Like the grandma with like all the dangly earrings is buying it. Like
the dangly ones.
The dangly ones.
How many John Hughes references can we get into 1 week?
Yes.
Cody and I are starting a Home Alone podcast. We only talk about Home Alone.
I could do it. I could do it.
Every week. New Home Alone content. So the did you know though that the actual doll that the Annabelle movies have come from, there is a doll whose name is Annabelle and was haunted, and the Warrens dealt with that case. It was not the doll that looks like Annabelle in the movies at all.
Oh. It's
literally a brand name Raggedy Ann doll.
Really?
It is Raggedy Ann with like the shoelace hair and the little red dots on her face, like straight up all cloth. It's a completely cloth doll, no like creepy porcelain human like face. Like,
really?
Yep, super basic and very common.
Yeah.
I mean,
everybody.
That's like saying you have a haunted sock monkey. Like,
yeah. Wouldn't that be more scary? Like when they make this movie, like. I guess it's kind of like the Chucky realm, though, where, like, hey, a little kid would want this. And, this is more of the antiquity and stuff like that.
Right.
But, like, I don't know. This is more of the anybody could have one. Ooh, you better go check your, especially to, like, people who are our age and older who, like, had those readily available.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. I mean, like, Raggedy Ann wasn't being, like, sold when we were kids. It was already kind of like a retro toy.
Yeah.
But, like,
my sister had one.
It was known by us, and like we may have been given one by an older like aunt or a grandma or something like that, like, or you inherited it from your mom because it was hers when she was a kid. Like, we know what those dolls look like.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So I just think that happens a lot in Hollywood. I've talked about it a few different times where like the true version is not nearly as quote unquote scary looking on the surface as what they portray in the movie. The same thing happens with houses. Yeah. I saw an Instagram account of this guy who goes and finds like real haunted locations and like takes a picture of them, and specifically ones that are featured in movies. And I can't remember which house it was or which movie it was. I think it was one of the Conjurings. But like he went and took a picture in front of the house that was the real house that was haunted that the Warrens went to and like helped that family. And it was just like a 1950s ranch style.
I was gonna say
home. Like,
nondescript ranch house.
And then of course in the movie it's like this massive like you know,
3-4 story
17th century like
Yep.
post-Civil War era mansion, like, and it's
Yep.
like that's not what the house looked like at all.
Both are scary in their own rights.
I guess.
There you go.
So yeah, I thought that was interesting. So the fact that we have a modern story about a haunted doll that is based off of a beloved Disney character, I think is very interesting.
Absolutely.
And so this story is actually sent to us by a regular co-host on the show, Alex. He got this from his brother Marcus.
Looking at you, Alex.
Shared it with us, and I said, "Hey, perfect. There's our real weird story for the week."
This comes from Marcus.
This comes from Marcus.
I'm not sure if Marcus listens to our show, but
Probably
I feel like of all the stories I've heard about Marcus, he's really the Myers brother that I probably want to be friends with. Just saying. I mean, I don't mean to throw shade here, but just feel like we're probably kindred spirits. Alex is just the link to tie us together. That's okay. Keep going with the story.
Okay, that was a weird thing to say, but we're going to move on. So we're actually going to be reading the article from Vice.com, so you can find this on Vice. But it's been, I did some research. It has been shared on multiple news websites. Even like the local Fox station in Orlando shared it. Like,
Yikes.
this is getting some attention. When most parents say that they're haunted by Princess Elsa, they just mean that their kids won't shut the fuck up about Frozen. But they've been forced to play the soundtrack for 6 straight years, or both of those things. That's not the case for one Houston mom. Oh, it's Houston. I thought it was Orlando. My bad.
That's all right.
Who says that her family has been haunted by Elsa in a very literal, very unsettling way. I'm not going to use the name because
Sure.
I don't know, but
Yeah.
you can find out the name online. This mother, her daughter received a singing Elsa doll for Christmas in 2013, and for the first couple of years, it did exactly what it was supposed to do. It repeated lines of dialogue from the movie, and it belted out "Let It Go" when someone pressed a button on her necklace. After that, the doll started to speak in both English and Spanish, which seems strange because the mother could not find a switch that would have changed Elsa's language. Then it started to sing when the power switch was turned all the way off.
Ew.
And that's when she decided that maybe there was something weird about the doll.
Yeah.
And that maybe she should just throw it away. That did not take. Several days after Elsa was collected with the rest of the trash, she appeared inside a wooden bench in the living room. The kids insisted they did not put it there, and the woman believed them because they wouldn't have dug through the garbage to get the doll out. She tried again. We tightly wrapped it in its own garbage bag and put that garbage bag inside another garbage bag filled with other garbage, and then put it at the bottom of the trash can underneath a bunch of other bags of garbage. Wheeled it to the curb, and it was collected on the next garbage day. The family went out of town for a few days, but when they got back, the doll was back in their yard, leaning casually against the house. Just imagine it like James Dean smoking a cigarette, just like,
Get you good chicken fuckers.
back on the wall, rebel without a cause.
Oh my gosh.
They say that there's no question it is the same Elsa because her daughter had colored on its plastic limbs with markers. Please help me get rid of this doll,
Ew.
she wrote on Facebook. If she is not pulling some kind of pointless prank, then this Elsa is terrifying even to those who have extensive experience with this kind of thing. This is not typical behavior of all haunted dolls. This is what we would consider a troubled spirit or possibly a negative entity. Kat Blowers, an Arizonan who investigates haunted items and safely rehomes haunted dolls through her Etsy shop, told Vice. Oh, yeah, that's like a whole thing, man.
What?
It's like a whole thing. You can search on Etsy or eBay for haunted dolls, and like there are people who are like, oh, this doll needs to be with like this kind of family because it won't be like disruptive if it's like in a house with no kids, or if it's in a house with kids, or if it's in a house that doesn't have a daughter older than it. It's shit like that. People are very serious about the haunted doll game.
Stop it.
Yep.
No.
According to Blowers, most haunted items are inhabited by dead souls who are holding on, possibly because they have some kind of unfinished business here in the earthly realm. We hear about that a lot.
Sure.
Or the idea of it, at least. We're familiar with it. We see a lot of doll vessels, jewelry, or even paintings that are haunted by spirits who just cannot let it go.
Damn you, Vice.
This Elsa doll is an entity has an entity attached that either needs help because the spirit inside is clinging to the living in hopes that someone will keep loving them and showing them attention, or the spirit is seeking someone who can help them cross over. Or, great news, family, there's also a worst case scenario that involves the kind of negative entity that she mentioned. It could be a demon, but more likely and more common, it's the manifestation of a bad situation, perhaps a murder, rape, or some other trauma, and that energy has stuck itself to the doll as a vessel. She continued to determine whether the doll is haunted, and they could use a electromagnetic field meter, a pendulum, or a dowsing rod. Those instruments are believed to react to vessels that contain spirits, but nothing is more important than the gut feeling.
Sure, absolutely.
It'll feel.
Keep going. You're reading great.
It will feel as if you're sharing space with another person and not a doll. You will feel as if there is someone there with you. So the family was not exactly hype on sharing space or anything else with the doll.
Right.
After Elsa materialized in the yard, they packaged her up and shipped her to a friend in Minnesota. God, Houston to Minnesota, who promptly taped her to the brush guard of his Jeep.
Oh my gosh. That is awesome. Then he lost control of his Jeep and flew off into a river.
According to experts, this is not the best idea. The Blowers, she said the family should have contacted a spiritual intuitive representative from a local paranormal society or someone who could have performed a house blessing to help the spirit cross over from this world to the next. I have a feeling that the spirit will find its way back to the family, and when it reappears, as I think it will, they need to have their home blessed and saged and have a ritual cleansing done. Sounds like they made a mistake.
Huge mistake.
If the spirit is a demon or a negative entity, then the guy who has it taped to his truck is in for a bad time. Regardless, someone should call in a shaman or a priestess and have the family's home cleansed, and the guy with the truck needs a protection ritual.
Sounds like D&D.
So in a very weird way, this entire situation could become a learning experience for the family involved or anyone who suspects that they may have an object that holds someone else's spirit. And for the unhaunted who still have both feet firmly in this realm. Could be a learning experience for them. Energy is everything, and in this case, it is palpable and tangible, Blowers said. Perhaps this Elsa situation will show people how important energy is and how important it is to keep your own personal energy positive and light, or risk this situation happening to someone after death. And nobody's spirit should end up strapped to the front of a stranger's Jeep.
I like how they capped that off. So I want to be totally honest for a second. This is a wild story. I know that we made some light in this story, and partially because of just the way, Vice wrote this, and like, how can you not, poke a little fun at it? This is actually one of those topics that like I feel can get pretty close to reality. Like if there's something in this that somebody really like,
just to let people know, it is Jalissa Castrodale who wrote the article on Vice.
Okay. So I feel like, we certainly aren't poking fun at the idea of the spiritual realm.
Yes.
Right? Like I want to make that really clear, because I don't know about energies being strapped to trucks and stuff.
I think we both have a personal belief system that could say that something negative like that could exist.
Yes, absolutely.
And probably does exist.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess it seems a stretch to think that it would end up in an Elsa doll, but
right.
But I'm just thinking about myself. If I was some kind of negative energy,
right.
like I'd probably go to something else. But I obviously a little tongue in cheek about the doll being strapped to the Jeep and stuff. But I do think that's a wild story. Like if you strip some of that satire back off of Vice and stuff, like there is a really strange story there.
It's interesting, and I'm interested to know more, so I'm sure we'll hear more from this friend who has a doll on his Jeep at some point. And
Yeah.
I'm following the story. That's for sure. We'll keep you updated.
Just keep thinking of old Buzz Lightyear when he starts speaking Spanish.
Yeah, that's exactly where my mind went to. It's hard not to think of that, right?
Right. Oh gosh. It's just wow. Yeah, it's a and I think, maybe it's because we've already been kind of indoctrinated in this idea of Hollywood, right? With
Right.
the Chucky and with other dolls being possessed or just like old grandma knickknacks being creepy. Listen, I had a buddy who I went to high school with. Supposedly his house was haunted. He always used to tell us, I used to make fun of him, and then my mom was like, "Oh no!" When I was in high school, like a lady killed herself in that house. Her husband found her. He killed himself in that house. Like
Ooh.
there are definitely spirits there.
Yikes.
It is definitely haunted. My mom would not step foot in the house.
Wow.
Also, my mom growing up is a lot different than the grandma that my son has.
Of course. Yeah.
So, but she wouldn't. And then like when you walk in, of course, his mom collects like the weird little knick-knack dolls that like do things on their own, right? Like
Yep.
you wind up toys, but like old weird ones from Europe that like look terrifying.
Terrifying.
And then like supposedly they'll just start going off by themselves. Like
Right.
even if he wound those just like while we're sitting watching Mothman Prophecies to go off, like it's still terrifying, right?
Yep.
And so it's like there's a lot wrapped up in the story that I still think is very viable.
Right.
And these poor people. If
Yep.
this is actually a spirit that's after them, I do believe the lady. Like I think if it were after them for some reason, like it'll come back.
Right.
Take it to Minnesota, whatever.
Right.
Something's gonna happen.
Something.
Dude's gonna be off road and he's gonna be mud and he's gonna think it's fine. It's gonna get ripped off innocently.
Right.
Boom. It's back.
Yep.
Hitchhiking. Who wouldn't pick up an Elsa on the highway, you know?
Definitely not.
Definitely not.
All right. Well, that about does it for us tonight for Night Shift Video. I'm James, and this is...
I'm Cody.
Well, we're just saying, thanks for stopping in.